Time now for AccuWeather at the Action News Big Board, and meteorologist Adam Joseph has some changes on the weather front tonight.
Yeah, we're watching the severe line come in from the west, and in fact, we just got a tornado warning issued for Chester County, right over Downingtown. Doppler indicated radar over Downingtown. Here's the graphic. We're just putting this together as it was just issued a couple of seconds ago. This is until 5:45 p.m. and it encompasses anywhere just east of Coatesville, Downingtown. This is exactly where the radar was picking up some rotation. It includes Exton, Westchester, and all the way east just south of King of Prussia, including Devon as well as Berwyn, as this is heading to the east at about 35 miles an hour. As we take a look at where to go if you're in a tornado particular warning, you want to go either in the lowest part of the basement. You want to go to the first level of your home. Stay away from the second-story window. That's where the most damage is. And in fact, you want to avoid windows. Go to the lowest level, again, of that house, interior parts of the house, away from the windows. The best place would be an interior closet or a bathroom that doesn't have windows. And of course, you want to cover your head if you're in that tornado warning area. As we go to Storm Tracker 6 Live, double scan a little bit closer here. It is heading towards Lionville at 527, Copesville at 527, and Bradford Hills at 528. This is a tornado warning, Doppler radar indicated. And when I'm taking a look at this radar right now, it was indicated right around Downingtown. And we're seeing a couple of areas where you have these little hooks coming into this squall line that is pushing in. So the heart of the storm right now is around Coatesville and also around Downingtown. 171 lightning strikes in the last 15 minutes. So we have very vivid lightning. This is a very dangerous storm. Again, tornado warning until 5:45 p.m. I'm going to see if we have this other source with 3D, which I do here for you, which we're tilting it in that 3D mode. And there you can see Coatesville. And just to the north and east of Coatesville, we are seeing that cylinder on double scan live radar. That cylinder extends from the top of the storm. These storms are about 40,000 feet in the atmosphere, tapping into some very strong winds. We're getting a rush of wind, and you can see that cylinder does extend all the way to the ground just to the north and east of Coatesville, moving directly eastward at about 35 miles an hour. So here is the Pennsylvania Turnpike. It is just south of there. So if you know your territory of a couple of cylinders now, again, near Exton, moving eastward towards Malvern, Westchester, Berwyn, as well as Devon. You want to, again, get to the basement first level of your home. We're getting tremendous amounts of lightning out of this right now. We'll go back to the street level of double scan. And Paul, if we can go a little bit closer into the east of Downingtown where we're seeing that hook, that is where we can get a better indication exactly where this possibly could be. Again, here's Exton. Right here is Westchester, so it's basically between there over Downingtown. And in fact, with double scan live radar technology, this is what we call reflectivity mode. This is showing the very heavy rainfall and that lightning as it's pushing east of 322. But if we can, and it's going to take a second here, Paul, to flip over to the storm relative velocity mode. Basically, when we look at this, this is an indication of winds in the storm. It takes out the momentum of the storm, and you're looking at the winds in the storm. So where you have in the velocity mode red, this is winds moving away from the radar. When you have greens, that is moving towards our radar. So it's opposite forces of the wind. So when you see this blocking of red and green side by side, that is an indication that there is some rotation in the storm. And this mode actually is the best mode to be in, not the mode where you see the rain, because this can be street level exactly where we are. So Paul, why don't we close in much closer with this so we can see exactly what streets and put some streets on here of where you're getting that bumping of the reds and greens. So again, it's right over Downingtown right now, south of the 30 bypass. A couple of roads that this is heading over right now is Boot Road, if you know where that is, right off of 202. Also, East Lancaster Avenue as you're heading north and east of Downingtown, and in fact 322 to the south. So let's go a little farther east, because this is where it's moving. It's moving directly to the east here. So we'll give you a couple of heads up if you're a little bit more in the path of the storm near Grove. If you're in Grove, I would be taking shelter right now as well, because it's about to pass over Quarry Road. Again, this is Doppler radar indicated, meaning that the radar seeing rotation. We don't have a spotter that said they saw a tornado on the ground ground, but this is a good time to take cover. Clover Mill Road, Raven Road as well, and we'll put another one on here for you, and that is South Whitesford Road, just to the north of downtown Grove. We'll go back to, let me see, the 3D mode here, and we're not seeing a cylinder at the present time here that originally was to the north and east of Coatesville, but again, a lot of times with tornadoes in our area, they tend to be weak, so sometimes they bounce. They'll try to come down out of the ground, they'll hit the ground, they'll come back up. So that is what the radar could be seeing, is these cylinders that pop up and go away. Again, we're looking live right now on double scan live radar. The storm moving east at about 30 miles an hour to 35 miles an hour, heading just to the south of Malvern, just to the north of Westchester, and heading south of Radnor. As you get this track, you're seeing the towns over here kind of updating. Exton 322, Westchester 532, Westchester 533, Green Hill at 534, Fern Hill at 534, Chatwood at 534, as that continues to move off to the east. More towns that it will be heading towards in timing: Fraser at 537, Milltown 538. These are all in the direct path of this Doppler radar indicated tornado. 87 lightning strikes. So even if there wasn't a tornado on the ground, you're talking about dangerous, vivid lightning. You're talking about a tremendous amount of rain and just very strong winds. In fact, with that, and as we take a look here again, here's double scan live in 3D. We're starting to see a cylinder pop back up again, so it's kind of going in and out at this time. And you see it's basically right over, here's the Pennsylvania Turnpike. So it's right over the Pennsylvania Turnpike, just to the north and west of Malvern. There's that new interchange that opened a year or so ago in Malvern. That is where we're seeing this rotation with this storm on double scan live radar. In the last 15 minutes, we're seeing 44 lightning strikes just in this part of the storm, so very dangerous lightning with this. I want to go back and tell you some safety tips again. If you're just joining us, a tornado warning in Chester County until 5:45 p.m. Stay away from the second story of your home. You want to be in the first level of your home. Interior room, away from the windows. You want to go into an interior hallway, interior bathroom, interior closet. If you have a bathroom that doesn't have windows, that would suit. If you're in a multi-story building, I get a lot of questions, where do I go in a multi-story building? First level of that building. If it has a basement, perfect, even better. And of course, when you're in those areas, you definitely want to cover your head. Again, let me go back to that tornado warning just to show you where exactly we're talking about in Chester County. If you are west of Coatesville, you are not within this warning. It is mainly near Exton, as well as Westchester, south and west of King of Prussia, and right on the verge of Glen Mills. But again, in the direct path right now is Malvern, Berwyn, Devon, basically moving along the main line. We'll go back to double scan live radar in that storm relative velocity mode here, and there you can see some of the reds. Those are winds moving away from the radar, which is near Westchester and Grove. The green is moving towards the radar. And to have a perfect signature on the velocity mode here for that rotation, you want or would want these greens and reds to bump up and touch one another. So where we're seeing a void of some of those winds in the gray over Grove, there is some separation here, which would be a good sign, but nonetheless, you want to take shelter no matter what we see on here along Route 100 Boot Road in downtown Westchester, Goshenville, near East Goshen Park. You're under the gun for this as this is moving in from the west right now. And there you can see the heaviest part of the storm, which typically follows where there could be a tornado, because that is typically ahead of the storm. And then you get the tremendous lightning and rain past where the rotation is, moving in from the west right now. Milltown in the direct path. Again, as this is moving off towards the east, here's Glen Mills as you bump into Delaware County to the south. This is right on the verge of that, heading towards Malvern, Gradyville at 543, Plumsock at 543 as well. Just reading off some of the towns, even Paoli, 542, you're in the path of this possible tornado being released by these really nasty storms that are moving in from the west, and they will continue to trek off to the east. And let me bring in 3D as well here in 3D. If we could maybe tilt that again, just to see if there's an indication of those cylinders. But again, like I just showed you a couple of minutes ago, it was there, it's not there. Right now it is not there. But again, don't let your guard down if you don't see a cylinder, because they tend to pop up here. And in fact, there it is again, just popping up in the last frame, last updated imagery here on Double Scan Live Radar, just to the north and west of Malvern. Again, here we are. We're at the intersection of downtown Westchester as well, north of Boot Road, heading towards Exton, a very populated area. It is rush hour at this time. If you know people who are living in these areas and have to travel at this time, typically get them on the phone, let them know what's going on. And if they're in a car, they just want to get to a sturdy building. If they're near a shopping mall, just go and head indoors for a short amount of time. Let them know that if you're in this packed towards Goshenville, East Goshen Park, just to the south of Malvern, just to the north of Milltown. Again, we're seeing the storm relative velocity mode here. The green's moving away, the red's moving towards the radar to show some kind of rotation of opposite winds in the atmosphere right now. At this point, it would be, if there is any leftover rotation in this particular storm, it would be right over Grove at this present time. The time right now is 5:34. This warning does go until 5:45, which butts up all the way east into the eastern part of Chester County. I'll bring that map back in for you of where this warning is and where it's in effect until 5:45, which is between Exton and Westchester, and it does get close to King of Prussia, not including King of Prussia, but it's moving into these areas that are very populated, Route 202, Route 422, all in the direct path of what could be, again, that storm releasing a tornado. So again, we'll go into the radar right now, and then okay, and then I just got word that we have Dan Cuellar, who is live in Exton. We're going to head out there. Dan, what are you seeing? Oh, you're on the phone. Okay, Dan, you're on the phone in Exton. I'm assuming you're seeing and hearing a tremendous amount of lightning right now. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's a big, bright lightning. What happened just a few minutes ago when the storm rolled in here, just before 5:30, suddenly it looks more like 8:30 at night rather than like 5:30 in the afternoon. It got really dark. There's lightning everywhere. The rain is coming down ferociously. It started with strong winds. We saw the winds come in, and we saw like round little in the clouds. They look really ominous before the rain started. You had these real ominous kind of greenish, grayish looking clouds, and then all of a sudden, boom, the rain just started. Lightning, you can probably hear it behind me, crackling behind me here. Real heavy rain coming down right here in Exton off Route 100, Adam. Adam, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. And Dan, you're exactly correct what you're describing here. Typically, you get the strongest winds before the rain and the lightning arrive. And then when you're saying you see a greenish glow to the sky, a lot of times this time of day we get the longer wavelengths of light. That light is kind of reflecting off of ice in the clouds. Sometimes it's hail that gives off that greenish color. But Dan, when I'm looking at the radar right now, you're in the heart of the storm when it comes to the rain intensity, the lightning intensity, but where the possible rotation is at this point, Dan, it is east of you. So you're safe in Exton and Downingtown right now because that rotation part of the storm is now near Malvern and Westchester, just to your east. But you are dealing with, I'm assuming it's almost a constant rumble where you are, what you're listening to.
It's almost constant. Every 10 seconds you hear a boom, and then, 10 seconds go by, you hear another lightning, thunder going by and real bright flashes of lightning that light up the darkened sky. Like I said, it was 5:30, bright, sunny, and all of a sudden, gradually it just started looking more like 8:30 at night. It's really dark here, really coming down hard in the Exton area.
Yeah, you're seeing right now, Dan.
Whoa, look at that. Whoa, really big, bright lightning there.
I was going to say, Dan.
Can you hear it? There it is. It's just really
Dan,
bright, Adam.
I could hear it because right now you have 58 lightning strikes around you in 15 minutes. So that is just an indication. You're in a van, I hope, right? You're in the van, the news van?
Yes, we're in the van. We're not getting out of this van right now.
Please, Dad, stay in that van for at least 15, 20 more minutes because you still have at least 15 minutes of the storm. And the storm still extends west of Downingtown, so it won't be over anytime soon. You're seeing tremendous amounts of water on the roads as well as we're seeing some live shots right now on Sky 6 of the roads there. But again, we want to let you know where you are, Dan. You're okay in the van when it comes to a possible tornado because it's east of you, but stay in the van because of those lightning bolts that are constant and vivid. And I'm assuming also that rain intensity is pretty intense what you're seeing right now.
Yes, it is. It's really coming down really hard here, Adam. The roads, the water's starting to accumulate on the roadways because it's coming down faster than the drains can handle. So there's the water starting to accumulate on the roadways here. It's just coming down really ferociously here in this area.
All right, Dan, really appreciate your update out there in the Exton area. Just stay in the van, please, another 15, 20 minutes, and then that storm will really start to lessen intensity. And we're looking at Sky 6 and seeing multiple flashes here going on. And I just want to update those watching where this possible rotation is at the present time. It is just to the east of Westchester right now, near Glens Mills, just to the south and west of Newtown Square, on the verge of East Stroudsburg Road and Route 3. This is where we're seeing, again, that hook coming into the storm, where you sometimes will get that rotation. Dan alluded to seeing a greenish color to the sky, and also those ferocious winds prior to the heavy rain and also the intense lightning. So here's downtown Westchester. Basically, that heart of the storm right now is over downtown Westchester, as well as Milltown, Westtown Road, heading towards Route 3, just to the north of downtown Westtown, heading towards Edgemont, moving to the east at about 35 miles an hour. I want to look at 3D again to see about those cylinders. And we saw one pop up, but we're not seeing one at this present time. But you can see what you're looking here. You may be saying, well, what are all these little dots and light, these white streaks coming out of the radar? Those are all of the lightning strikes. Tremendous amounts of lightning after a very hot, humid day fueling these storms. And again, here you can see those reds and greens trying to come closer together. Earlier I was telling you there was a little gray in between the two, but right now near Westtown Road, we've got those greens going towards the radar, the reds going away from the radar. This is where there would be any rotation. And if there isn't rotation at the ground, we are talking about a tremendous amount of wind being released out of this area, moving to the east near Route 3 and near Westtown. And if anyone knows the roads better than me, it is Matt Pellman. We're bringing Matt Pellman. You've got a slew of cameras to look at and talking about this general area of the tremendous amounts of rain coming down.
That's right, AJ. Right in the area you've been talking about. We've been seeing the downpours here in Exton. This is Route 100 right at Commerce Drive. And as those vehicles travel northbound on 100 here by Commerce Drive, you can see the amount of water they're rolling through. Watch that as that car goes through the intersection. So much rain has come down here. There is definitely a substantial amount of ponding and puddling. We switch now to Lionville, Chester County. Another view of 100. This is just south of the turnpike by 113. Pizzeria Uno would be right over here. So southbound traffic right here, and you can see the rain really still coming down. Occasionally we see the flashes of lightning in this area, and as that car went through the intersection, you could really see the amount of water that already in such a short amount of time has built up on the roadway here along 100 at 113. Looks like we have a frozen image. Now, it's interesting because the switcher that we use to switch these traffic cameras is based in Malvern, where the storms are really strong right now. So any power problems in Malvern are going to mean we can't continue to switch the cameras. But the rain keeps falling. We've already gotten reports of numerous downed trees, sets of downed wires, most of them right in between the 30 bypass and the Pennsylvania Turnpike in that chunk of Chester County. We managed to switch to Malvern. This is Route 202, right by Route 29. This is where we'd normally be backed up in the afternoon, and we're even slower, heavier than normal with the rain still heavily falling. Look at how dark the sky is. Of course, normally would not be nearly this dark. Southbound traffic barely moving, headed down toward 401, Fraser, Exton. Again, the rain still really coming down here along 202. And wow, can you ever see the rain falling sideways here in King of Prussia? This is the Schuylkill Expressway right by 202. The mall would be right over here. You see the flashes of lightning, rain coming down, a lot of ponding, down trees, down wires already, Adam. It really is a mess out there in Chester County as you move into this part of Montgomery County.
Yeah, it's moving into Montgomery County, and I want to bring you up to date on that tornado warning. That tornado warning has expired for eastern parts of Chester County. It was supposed to go up to about 5:45. They expired it a couple of minutes early, so that is good news. However, we do have severe thunderstorm warnings now in effect for Wilmington as well as Philadelphia, and also into Camden, Gloucester, Salem County, Newcastle County, as that line is approaching from the west. Destructive winds in excess of 60, 70 miles an hour are moving in that location. And want to just bring you an updated view of double scan live radar right now. And you can see just how bright the radar is lighting up. 553 lightning strikes in the last 15 minutes with this line that is now moving into eastern Chester County, moving into Newcastle County, Delaware County, about to head towards Center City. Again, the tornado warning has expired, but we cannot let our guard down as this line is pushing to the south and east and moving over the most popular part of our viewing area during the evening rush hour. So we'll continue to track this severe line of storms with dangerous vivid lightning, with torrential rain, again during the evening rush hour. Powerful, dangerous winds being released by this, and we're not seeing at this point much in the way of hail with this, but we'll continue to track this line as it pushes into Philadelphia as well as Wilmington. And Rick and Monica, I'm going to head back there, chat with Paul, our meteorologist and weather producer, who's been tremendously, thankfully, helping me with all these graphics and radar images. So a round of applause for him. But we'll be back as I take a look at some of the latest information and let you know the very latest in a little bit.
All right, we thank you for your coverage as well, Adam. And, of course, we'll keep you up to date on the air and online throughout the evening about all of the weather changes going on in our region.
Much more news straight ahead. Stick around. We'll be back.
Okay.
Yeah, they're moving fast to the east at about 30 to 40 miles an hour. You mentioned that new tornado warning that was just issued. This is until 6:30 p.m. There is radar indication that a tornado or rotation in the radar is just south of the Philadelphia International Airport, moving to the east towards Runnymede, Berlin, and just to the west of Medford Lake. So this is, again, part of Gloucester County, Camden County, and the western part of Burlington County until 6:30 p.m. As we take a look at the radar right now, the Philadelphia International Airport, you can see some of the runways right here. That is where the rotation is, just south of the runway over the river near Gibbstown in between Swedesboro, moving off towards the east. Heading towards towns like Mickleton at 6 o'clock, Mantua 6:04, Barnesboro at 6:05 p.m., Woodbury at 6:06, Sewell at 6:06 p.m. There's that rotation on the radar as the winds are being siphoned into the storm here just south of the Philadelphia International Airport, heading just south of downtown Gibbstown along 295 towards Mickleton, towards Mantua. Here is the New Jersey Turnpike heading towards there. So right now it is split between 295 and the New Jersey Turnpike, downtown Mickleton. Bridgeport, just to the east of there, is where Double Scan Live radar is showing that rotation, setting up shop right now just to the south and to the west of Democrat Road, north of Kings Highway, Berkeley Road. If you know anyone in this area, you're watching me from this area, what you want to do at this present time is to head into the lowest part of your home. You want to head into the basement. If you don't have a basement, you're going to go into the first level of your house for tornado safety, not the second floor. If you're in a multi-story level home or a apartment complex, first level or basement. The lowest level, interior hall or bathroom away from windows would be best. Again, you don't want to go on the outside of the windows you're on. You want to find that interior room, bathroom or closet that doesn't have windows, and of course cover your head. Let's go to Storm Tracker 6 Live 3D right now, and we'll tilt the storm because when we had that tornado warning in Chester County, we saw that cylinder that was being pulled out of the storm on 3D, and there we can see a cylinder right now. Just here's the airport right here. This is the cylinder on 3D right now, just south and west of Philadelphia International Airport. Again, tremendous amounts of lightning and destructive winds. We've seen winds in Philadelphia International Airport, 60 miles an hour reported. Wilmington, near 70 mile an hour wind gusts as this storm passed through. Again, we're seeing a cylinder right here. We're actually seeing a little cylinder even north of there into parts of southern eastern Pennsylvania as well. No tornado warning there, but as we watch this storm pushing into southern New Jersey right now, there's a cylinder. Now it is pushing just to the east. If you're near Woodbury, Barnesboro, Mantua, you're just starting to hear the rumble of thunder. The rain is just starting to fall, but it's that leading edge of the storm where you start to see some of that rotation as it heads off to the east. And if you want to go a little farther to the east to give you a better heads-up warning for this tornado warning, Blackwood, I would take cover. Turnersville, I would take cover right now. Right along 55 Pittman to the north of there, I would take cover as well. It could be near Sewell at 6:06 and Deptford, again, 6:08 p.m. We're taking a look now at that storm relative velocity mode. This is showing the winds and the structure of the storm. Where you have that red, that's winds moving away from the radar. The green is moving towards the radar. When I was looking at this about a half hour ago in Chester County, you'd see a lot more of reds and greens near each other. There's one little blip of red, and it's mainly green. When it's mainly green, that is showing the rush of wind heading towards the radar, those destructive winds in this severe storm. As When you're looking at the red, that's where you will see the twisting, not seeing a lot of red, but again, still take shelter this time because we have that tornado warning, again, for Camden, Gloucester, parts of northwestern Burlington County. All of that is until just after, where's my graphic here, just after 6 o'clock to around 6:30 p.m. is where we have that tornado warning in effect until, here's the graphic, until 6:30. Again, here's the Philadelphia International Airport right about here. So it's south of there in northern parts of Gloucester County, slicing through the central part of Camden County, Runnymede, Berlin, and just bumping into the northwestern part of Burlington County west of Medford Lakes. Here's the intersections we're looking at where the rotation could be indicated on double scan at the intersection of the New Jersey Turnpike and Mantua-Paulsboro Road near Barnesboro, Union Road, South Glassboro Road, Tan Yard Road, as well as Hufferville Road, as well as 55, the highway right here, as this is heading to the east at speeds of about 30 to 35 miles an hour. That tornado, possible tornado, I should say, that it's moving towards Mickleton, Mantua, and eventually Blackwood, that's only one piece of the storm. The other part of the storm is the dangerous, vivid, constant lightning being released by this particular line of storms. 800 or so lightning strikes in that wide vantage point, but it's moving through the heart of Philadelphia right now, Center City being inundated with rain and lightning right now, and that line extends south to Woodbury, Glassboro, and to Salem, and every now and then you start to see these cylinders popping up even near Philadelphia in Center City, just to the east of there, over the river in Camden. Doesn't mean there's a tornado there, but what these cylinders are indicated near Philadelphia, Cherry Hill, and Palmyra is that the rush of wind being pushed out by the storms is tremendous right now, between 60 and 70 miles an hour. And a weak tornado, you can see winds of that strength. Straight line winds with this severe storm in this area where there's tornado warning can do just as much damage as a small tornado. So you still want to have your guard up anywhere near Cherry Hill, Burlington, Southern Camden, and Gloucester County. But the tornado warning as of right now is just to the east of Gibbstown and Swedesboro, where you see this hook right here, the little void in the radar. That's where you can get some winds to siphon into the storm and try to circulate that atmosphere in that part of the line of storms between Woodbury, Barnesboro, and heading towards 55 and eventually Berlin. So Turnersville at 6:12. So the time right now, where's my clock in there? 6:06.
6:07.
6:06. So about 6 to 7 minutes towards Birdsboro as well as Sewell. Deptford, 6:08. Blackwood at 6:11, Turnersville 6:12, Pine Hill at 6:17. As the storm, you can see what double scan is doing. Here's the line, and as it's moving out, it's giving you towns and times over here. Again, Gibbsboro 6:19, Berlin 6:21, and as it continues to head towards the east, Cresserson at 6:22, Cedar Brook at 6:23, Atco around 6:25, and Lake Pine at 6:27, if that was to extend the entire length of the tornado warning until 6:30 p.m. Again, this is the area of the tornado warning we're looking at, anywhere around Runnymede down to Berlin and just west of Medford Lakes. We'll take a look at 3D right now in its mode as we're looking at possible cylinders, and there you can see on double scan live radar, all of those white dots and lines are lightning strikes right now. It goes to show the tremendous amount of electricity being released by these storms as it passes through. And the very latest imagery right here, you see the red underneath, that's the tornado warning. And we're not seeing any cylinders right now coming out of this particular part of the storm, but we'll continue to watch this as it pushes off to the east at speeds of about 30 to 35 miles an hour. Do we want to go back to Jim?
Let me ask you a question,
Yeah.
Adam. Does the electricity in the atmosphere contribute to the possibility of a tornado? Is there some connection, some correlation there?
There's no connection with the electricity with the tornado. What that would be is the winds at the surface kind of veering or moving in different directions. You kind of have to look at the atmosphere from where we stand on the ground to our head to about 50 feet above our head and beyond that. If the winds are moving in one direction where we live and work and stand, and just above it, it comes at a little angle, just more, then you start to rotate those winds around. And what you can see here, Jim, is again, that hook when you see what looks like a hook in the radar.
Which is becoming more distinct even as you talk.
You're exactly right. As you're looking at this, it is becoming more distinct just east of 55, north of Glassboro. And what can happen is once the storm starts to pull the winds in, it's almost like a snowball rolling down the hill. There's no stopping those winds from being wrapped in. So that's something we'll continue to follow. But Jim, when you were talking about the lightning being released by this and that energy, each lightning bolt is about, what do you got, a new piece of paper here? Okay, 71-mile-an-hour wind gusts in Philadelphia International Airport. We've seen hurricane force winds are 74 miles an hour, 3 miles shy of hurricane force winds with this line, Jim, as it pushed through the airport. But with those lightning strikes, you're talking about lightning bolts that are 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. They carry 1 million to 1 billion volts of electricity in one bolt. So that's how dangerous lightning is, in addition to the spin possible.
You've got a lot of knowledge here, Adam. Let's, if you would, show us the itinerary, where this thing is going next, where people should be specifically concerned.
Yeah, all right. So, Paul, let's bring up that storm track again to let you know the towns that this is heading towards. And again, as he's pulling that up, Paul is my meteorologist, weather producer, who helps run a lot of these graphics for us, so you don't see him on the air every day. But he'll track this storm, and as he's getting that up here, if you're in this path of this possible tornado, first level of your home, interior room, away from the windows. If not, the basement's the best place to be. And if you're in a multi-story building, lowest level of that building. So here again are those towns for you. Heading towards Pine Hill at 6:15, Clementon 6:16, Sicklerville also at 6:16 p.m. This is now just to the east of 55, where we're seeing that little hook in the radar. Berlin at 6:20, Cedarbrook at 6:21. So this is moving to the east again at speeds of about 30 to 40 miles an hour, that warning until 6:30. And another thing I'm looking at is the lightning strikes, which continue to excel. We're looking at close to 340 lightning strikes. And when we show you this lightning detector, Jim, this is just in this vantage point alone, showing that many lightning strikes in 15 minutes. Lightning, a very dangerous aspect of these storms, in addition to the wind and in addition to that possible tornado, where we're seeing, again, that little bit of a hook. We close in. It is near downtown Turnersville right now, heading towards Berlin. We'll throw a couple roads on here for you so you can kind of get a better bearings as to where I'm talking about here. Williamstown, Eel Road, just to the east of Turnersville. The Atlantic City Expressway is right through here, so it's moving right over the Atlantic City Expressway over Turnersville. Blackwood Clementon Road, just south of Gibbsboro, is where this is moving over. Johnston Road as well, heading towards downtown Berlin. Atco at 6:23. Pittman, Glassboro, you're hearing the roar of the wind and the constant rumble of thunder right now as the meat of the part of the storm of the wind, the rain, and the lightning is moving over you. But with the possibility of a tornado, it is right now over Turnersville and moving towards Berlin, as well as Cross Key Road, which pretty much intersects over the Atlantic City Expressway.
You know, we hear people say we shouldn't alarm our viewers. Well, we never needlessly want to alarm our viewers, but in a situation like this, a little alarm, a little bit of alarm can go a long ways. We do want you to take precautions when there is a tornado warning in your neighborhood. It only makes sense. Quick question, Adam, to try to put this in a little bit of perspective. With every tornado warning, what are the chances, if you can quantify this, that there might actually be a tornado in the area?
You know, statistically, when you take a look at a tornado warning, which you take serious every single time because every tornado warning is different, but in our region, I mean, I've been here over 10 years now, and the amount of tornado warnings we've seen, I think we've seen 1 or 2 tornadoes out of those 10 years. But typically, Jim, it's probably 90 to 95% chance that a tornado does not happen in our area when a warning is issued. So
can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so when a warning is issued, it is about a 90 to 95% chance that a tornado does not happen or is not happening. When this tornado warning is issued, which is by the National Weather Service, when you see the cylinders on the radar, it basically is showing rotation of the storm, so you don't ignore it, you know, every single time. You can't ignore it.
Now, can you tell by looking at the radar where a rotational image
I'll bring that up. Yeah.
is more serious or more likely to actually cause a tornado. Can you see the severity of the warning, if you will, by looking at the radar?
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know, someone switched my source, so let me just go back to A here for you. All right, so let's pull up the radar, Paul, and we'll take a look at Storm Tracker 6 Live and the radar source for some reason. Matt, you're over there. Is D, can you put D in weather 3 for me, please? All right, something's wrong with that local radar. Whether lightning hit the radar, which we hope is not the case, but not showing up at this present time. But Jim, yes, there is a mode when you take a look at Storm Tracker 6 Live 3D, that storm relative velocity mode, yeah, still in black, Paul, at weather 3. When they're in that storm relative velocity mode, basically, when I was showing you, if you remember, the greens and reds near each other, the red is winds moving away from the radar, the green is moving towards the radar. So when you have those opposite forces where we can look at double scan live radar with that technology, when you look at this looks impressive. It has a lot of reds, greens, yellows, and oranges on here, but you can't tell where a tornado is within this line of which is called reflectivity. You go to the velocity mode to see the winds in the atmosphere of where they're moving, where they're veering, where they're moving in one direction toward the radar and one direction away from the radar. Then we can pinpoint exactly where that tornado could be on the ground with that double scan technology away from this particular mode, which is showing the rainfall intensity.
Let's take a look at Sky 6, which is mounted on a very high building at Temple University. I believe we are looking south into Center City, Philadelphia. Is that correct? Difficult to see because the landscape and the skyline is obscured by the very dark clouds containing an enormous amount of moisture and electricity. Let me ask you a question. Adam, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
How many lightning strikes? Can you give us a sense of how many lightning strikes might have happened over Center City, Philadelphia within the last, say, 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, we can look back at,
Are you talking thousands?
Well, right now we're looking, in the whole viewing area, thousands in the last 15 minutes. Over Center City, Philadelphia, I'm going to probably throw out a number between about 1 and 300 in the last, 15 minutes or so. But what we can do later for 11 is I can go back and take a look at how many lightning strikes hit a certain area for you. That once we ingest that data, once the storms push out. But what we look at with double scan live radar is present radar data showing how much lightning is being released within a 15-minute window.
And you're just seeing some as we speak over Center City, Philadelphia. Now we want to show you this video. This is Cell 6 Live. This is video being taken from Action News reporter David Henry's cell phone. It is in Camden County. I think David is on Route 42 near 295, and we just froze up for a second, but let's crank it up again. This is really extraordinary. This video now from David Henry's cell phone. We call it Cell 6, and it is live. Now let's go to some video off of our patio here on City Avenue and Monument Road, and you can talk about winds, but you can talk about them all you want. This looks like a hurricane, Adam. This is off our patio right outside near our studio, and obviously the winds are whipping to dangerous velocities right now. Adam, talk about what we're seeing.
All right, what you're seeing here is straight line winds. Straight line winds is basically a wall of wind that comes out of the storms. As the storms approach, you've got that tremendous amount of rain that comes out of the clouds, and as that rain comes out of the clouds and hits the ground, it brings winds down with it from the atmosphere. These storms are tapping into levels about 40 to 45,000 feet in the atmosphere, higher than commercial planes ride. So you're tapping into strong winds in the upper part of the atmosphere, being pulled down with the rain, hits the ground, and then it kind of slams out. Like if you were to take a bottle, like just say a big bucket of water, dump it onto the ground, it hits the ground and it spreads out everywhere. Or throw a big rock into a pool or a puddle, you see it ripple out. That's what you're seeing. Those winds hit the ground, they spread out, and it creates a lot of damage. And as I mentioned before, we have the tornado warning for Camden, Gloucester, and Burlington counties. You can get just as destructive of winds and damage from straight line winds as a very small tornado. So there's really no difference between straight line wind damage and tornado damage in our area.
I'm sure you've seen this, as have I. You go out into a suburban or a rural area, and after straight line winds, you see 5, 6, 7 trees all cut off midway.
At the tops.
Midway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Across the street, nothing.
Yep.
But you can actually see where the straight line winds carve
almost a
or
path.
slice the trees off.
Yeah, they can slice the trees off the top. And Jim, what sometimes that can be is a small tornado that tries to come down from the sky, almost reaches the ground and hits those top part of the trees and then comes back upward. And that also can do damage to the tops of the trees. So it's very hard to distinguish between straight line winds and tornado wind damage. And that's why you have the experts from the National Weather Service that assess.
Tornado warning's canceled.
All right, the tornado warning. Paul just tells you the tornado warning has been canceled now for Camden, Gloucester, and Burlington County, where we saw this particular area of the line now moving to the north of east of Glassboro, heading towards Tabernacle and Hamilton. And Jim, even though the tornado warning has expired, if you're in Dover, if you're in Millville, Jim, if you're in southern New Jersey, Burlington County, do not let your guard down. What you're seeing here, Jim, and Jim, I'm going to ask you this question. What does this look like to you? It looks like a bow and arrow. This line of storms. See how it's bowing out? Basically, when it bows out like that, you're getting that tremendous rush of wind heading away from the storms. So all of southern and eastern New Jersey and Delaware is going to get a powerful rush of wind in excess of 70 miles an hour as these storms approach. So again, we have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect all the way to the coast now, even though that tornado warning has expired.
One might ask, why does the tornado warning expire before this storm gets to the coastline? What is it that inhibits it or stops it before you get to the water?
Yeah, well, so when you look at the water itself as marine air, it's salt air. So when you get winds, and much of the time in our area during the summer, in the afternoon, that sea breeze kicks in. When you get that sea breeze to kick in, it brings in marine air from the ocean. That's very stable air for the atmosphere, so it chokes the storms as these storms push towards the coast. So that is why a lot of times the storms will break up in southern New Jersey and Delaware. But Jim didn't have much of a sea breeze today. We had a south-southwesterly wind. It was equally as hot down the shore, so there is no stopping these storms this afternoon. These storms are barreling at speeds of near 50 miles an hour with winds in excess of 70 miles an hour, now heading towards Millville, Dover, and also central and southern parts of Burlington County.
Adam, let's take another look, if we can, at Sky 6 from our Temple University Sky 6. And correct me if I'm wrong, in the right middle part of that
you see a little
image,
blue.
It looks like we're beginning to see some clearing.
Brightening to the sky.
Yeah.
And what happens...
And take a look at this, Adam.
Oh, yeah.
This is our Sky 6 at Philadelphia International Airport, and there you see the end of the storm right there over the horizon.
And and think about this, what must rise must fall. So when you get that tremendous amount of lift and energy in these storms as they are passing through, all that rising air has to fall at some point. And behind the storms, once it's done, that air falls, you get sinking air subsidence, and you get the sky to basically clear out, and you get actually some pretty beautiful imagery and pictures post-storm as you see that wall of clearing coming in.
And this is Center City, Philadelphia, again, our Sky 6 camera. And again, you see the beginning of a break in that thick layer of dense
But you still see the lightning.
cover.
You still see that lightning flashing too.
And we probably will for some time. Correct?
Yeah, lightning can strike up to 15 miles from the actual storm. So it could be sunny where you are, and a lightning bolt could hit where you are. So you never let your guard down until post 15 minutes after you hear the last crack of thunder.
We have had 2 tornado warnings this evening, one in Chester County and then one in Camden County and Gloucester County, part of Burlington County. Both were half-hour warnings at the beginning, and both were canceled
early
before the half-hour expired. What does that mean?
What it means, it's not a bad thing. I mean, you have to kind of assess each storm differently here. But what you do is the National Weather Service issues those warnings. And what they do, like we do here, is look at the radar. And when we look at the radar, in fact, while I'm talking, if you want to pull up, the director, if you want to pull up Weather 3, I think we can at least get that full imagery for you of that local radar, of double scan live radar. There you are. A lot of times, Jim, what we look at, and Paul, why don't you do this for me, because we were talking about this earlier. Switch it over to the velocity mode, Jim. You were talking, how do you see tornadoes within a radar? When you take a look at it, see the greens there and you see the reds. All right, so the leading edge of the storm, you see those lightning bolts there near Berlin and Marlton. See that tremendous green east of all that lightning? Those are the rushing straight line winds moving towards the radar. So that is showing the destructive winds moving towards the radar. Where you have the red, that's moving away from the radar, where the winds are much less at this point because it's away from that squall line. But Jim, if you saw a particular supercell thunderstorm and you saw reds bumping up right next to the green on top of one another, a bright green and a bright red, that's how we can see if there's rotation in a storm with this velocity mode on double scan live radar. So that's the mode we look at. But when you're talking about warnings being canceled early, what they're doing at the National Weather Service, and again, this is the rainfall mode here, the reflectivity mode, showing the tremendous rain heading towards Tabernacle and Chatsworth. Both the National Weather Service and us here in AccuWeather, we look at that, and if we say, okay, there's no greens or reds next to each other anymore, don't keep the tornado warning up after a few scans. Not one scan, but a couple different scans. If it doesn't show up anymore and they're moving further apart, then the tornado warning and that rotation is no longer in that storm.
We're always concerned about our viewers' safety, particularly in a situation like this. We don't take this lightly, but I must say, Adam, this is fascinating stuff, and it's just interesting to hear you talk about all this.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I'm a weather geek. I went to school for this, so I love, hopefully you've learned something through this from my mouth. To help warn you the next time something like this happens.
Stellar job. Let's go to Matt Pellman. Needless to say, this has impacted on our traffic situation around the tri-state area. Maybe it's cleared a little bit as of now, Matt, or not?
In spots, Jim. Yeah, from your weather geek to your traffic geek. I've been watching these roads and a whole lot of ponding on them. And you can see as we look live here in Port Richmond at I-95, we are still seeing some of those lightning bolts in the sky. We're seeing a whole lot of traffic moving very slowly on the highways this afternoon. From time to time, we've seen vehicles pulled off to the side trying to wait out some of the heavy rains that have come through. This is Center City along the Vine Street Expressway right at 8th Street. These are the eastbound lanes right here. And you can see the lanes are soaked, but the heaviest of the rain is not coming down here in Center City anymore. Still, the traffic moving a little bit slowly headed toward 95. We've seen so many downed trees and downed wires, especially with that earlier tornado warning out in Chester County. When that storm rolled through, we got a bunch of downed trees and downed wires in the Chester County suburbs. I want to check some of those spots where we often see flooding locations. This would be the Schuylkill Expressway, but you know, in a storm like this, sometimes the cameras go in and out. So let's check the Roosevelt Boulevard, and this is the scene in East Falls by Ridge Avenue. Storms have pretty much rolled through this area. You can see the rain not really coming down. Just about 10 or 15 minutes ago, I couldn't see the roadway in this shot. The rain was coming down so heavily. Visibilities were so low. Now with the storm having rolled through, the road, of course, is still wet. There's still a lot of ponding and puddling, but the rain has moved through. But in those spots where we often see the flooding, like on the boulevard up at Broad Street, I would watch out on the ramps there. Let's see, this is the Schuylkill. Yeah, we're looking, actually this is the boulevard at Broad Street right here. This is this ramp that often floods out. It looks like traffic's getting by now, but we're left with a whole bunch of wet roadways, a bunch of puddles out there as we head home this evening. Jim.
And I think, Adam, are you going to go to the wall?
Yes.
With Matt?
Matt, I'm going to go to your wall.
Come on in.
So I can show you the traffic.
We're going wall to wall.
Yeah, wall, basically. As we take a look at double scan live radar right now, we can see south and east of Philadelphia as we have that major part of the severe storm now sliding south of the city. In Center City, all points north and west into Pennsylvania. We are seeing just light rain at this point, but take a look at the severe thunderstorm warning until 7:30. All areas in the orange from Lakehurst, Atlantic City, and right through the middle part of Cape May County, all of southern New Jersey, and just a little sliver here of central and southern parts of Newcastle County. Severe thunderstorm warning until 7 7:30 p.m.
Now, that is an extension, as I understand, Adam, because at one point we were talking about a thunderstorm warning until 6:30.
Yes.
So the National Weather Service has extended that for an hour.
Yep, till 7:30 because it's pushed all the way to the coast at this present time. And what we're seeing with this part of the storm is the dangerous vivid lightning, winds near 70 miles an hour, possible hail, and again, the possibility of some rotation and a tornado out of the storm. So as we take a look at the exclusive AccuWeather 7-day, beyond these storms, it is beautiful tomorrow at 86 degrees. And then on Thursday, morning sun giving way to some afternoon clouds and even a stray thunderstorm or shower late in the day with temperatures in the 80s. And then as we get into the end of the week, Friday, early rain giving way to some drying in the afternoon. And right now, the weekend, very cool, cloudy with on and off showers and highs only in the lower 70s. And then Monday, Tuesday, drying up in the upper 70s to low 80s with some sunshine returning. So again, southern New Jersey, southern Delaware, very powerful winds and vivid lightning heading their way.
We have a thunderstorm warning in effect until 7:30. Is it safe to say that for the majority of our folks, the worst of this is over?
For all of southeastern Pennsylvania, but here's the radar, Jim. Take a look at it. In southern New Jersey and Delaware, 403 lightning strikes in 15 minutes, so they're not out of the woods.
And we will be here in case there is another tornado warning or something of that nature. We will break into programming if something like that happens, of course. Now, for the entire Action News team, especially Mr. Adam Joseph.
Thanks.
I'm Jim Gardner. Please stay with us. Thank you.